I'll go right into it then by acknowledging the research team. There we go. Some of you may know Zach Telfer from his current job, but Zach was involved in pest management in my program before he moved on. Tyler is the current integrated pest management coordinator at the Marsh, and Kevin is a research assistant. We did this work in close collaboration with OMAFRA, especially the vegetable specialists, Dennis and Travis. We collaborated with an individual grower in one of the locations, Smith Gardens, and also with the Thetford Grand Bend Growers Association. So a bit of a background. There has been a pest management program on vegetables off and on since the early 1980s, when it was started as a pilot project through the University of Guelph. And then for the last more than 15 years, it's been part of my research program. Fields in the Holland Marsh are scouted twice a week. The information's provided to individual growers, and it's also summarized, and it's spread quite widely to other growers, crop protection professionals, and extension people in OMAFRA and in industry. And the Holland Marsh is a very intensive area of vegetable production. What you see here are fields that belong to several different farmers. So it makes it very efficient to provide integrated pest management information. And our research question, a KTT question, was how can we extend this program and the information to growers in other parts of Ontario? This is an example of the type of summary that's sent out twice a week with the highlights to draw attention to growers, what they need to know immediately. And then individual growers on the program also get very site-specific information. So our objectives of this program, as I said, we wanted to provide this disease forecasting and insect forecasting information to some very different regions in the province. We were going to do this with specifically looking at weather stations to provide the weather information used in these various forecasting programs. And we also were curious about what was the most effective method of getting that information to the growers who are our main targets. Very much what we've been talking about this afternoon. So we have these two remote sites, Grand Bend and the Keswick Marsh. Weather stations, as I mentioned, they're very important for both disease and insect forecasting. We also had a type of spore trap. We did this work in conjunction with OMAFRA to see if the plant pathogens were actually present in the locations. And these areas were just scouted once a week because of the logistics of trying to get there more often. I won't go into the details of the different diseases and insect pests of onions and carrots, but these are what we were focused on. So the two sites, Grand Bend, about 240 miles from the research station in the Holland Marsh, and the Keswick site at the base of Cook's Bay, about 55 kilometers. So the environment was quite different among these three sites. There's just a picture of the spore trap and our weather station in an onion field in the Keswick Marsh. One of the main diseases we were looking at, or that developed during the 2 years of the project, was Stemphillium leaf blight. These onions are supposed to be green, and the Stemphillium disease is causing tip dieback and yellowing. And when it gets serious, it can cause a lot of leaf death, which isn't good for yield of onions. In the Thetford Grand Bend area, Stemphillium started out a bit also. You can see sort of the white tips that are dying back. And this aerial photograph is really interesting because you can see nice green onions, and then there's definitely areas of the field where the onions are not as healthy. So what did we find with the 2 years of this trial? We did have some successes. Disease forecasting for onion downy mildew was accurate, especially in Grand Bend. There were days when there was a high risk of disease. The growers were warned about this. They went out and put fungicide on to protect the crop, and no disease developed. Stemphillium leaf blight is a bit of a different situation. We don't have good methods for management or good disease forecasting programs right now. And in fact, we do have some alliance funding to help improve disease forecasting for Stemphillium. However, even though the weather stations were useful, it was concluded that actual in-person scouting was still essential for these IPM programs to work. And just as an aside about the disease forecasting, we're still not sure if those spornado spore traps are going to be as effective or as accurate as we'd like as part of this program. So the good part is that the growers were very supportive. They were very happy with the information that they received, and they want to continue receiving this IPM information in whatever form we can provide. In all of our disease forecasting programs, we did incorporate some models for white rot and carrot white mold. These were new and are being evaluated further. And we found through talking with the growers, and OMAFRA did some surveys, that the growers were pretty happy with the methods we were already using to get the information to them. The growers are sent emails, so we have a complete email list with attachments with that IPM summary. We found that most of them aren't active on social media. They don't spend a lot of time in front of their computer, but of course, they all have a cell phone. So something that we can send to their cell phones that they can read on the phone was currently the most effective method. And our next steps, we're looking for funds from the Growers Association, so some level of pest management can continue to be provided. And the cooperation with the OMAFRA specialists is really key here. We're going to continue to talk to the growers in different modes. One very effective one, of course, is in-person presentation at growers' meetings, the annual Muck Vegetable Growers Conference in Bradford, the Fresh Vegetable Growers Annual Meeting are two very important ones. And we're also considering producing YouTube videos. We've heard how effective those can be for some very focused and specific topics in pest management initially. And if these are successful, then maybe extending them further onto some other topics like cover crops for muck soils or how to interpret your soil test. So of course, I want to acknowledge the funding, the Ontario Agri-Food Innovation Alliance, essential for this work. We did have some funding and great collaboration from the Thetford Grand Bend Growers and Smith Gardens. And this wouldn't have been possible without the active involvement of the OMAFRA specialists. So thank you. And I know our questions will be at the end of this session, but I look forward to those.